Let's start with you, gentlemen. How do you feel after listening for 30 minutes to what Deepak was talking about? Do you feel like me, or do you feel differently?
I started this morning, or this early afternoon, with the story of the drop, the zero, where you're nothing, but in that nothing is infinite possibility. And for me, you know, one of my biggest mantras in life is a Zen saying, which is the whole idea that if you were to think of knowing, to know and not to do is not yet to know. So for me, a large part of being an entrepreneur is the only real reality is just through your action and reactions of what's happening. And that's the human journey. So it's an adventure, and it's possible, I think, to be in an absolute meaningless of knowing that we can have the humility of knowing we're absolutely nothing in space and time, but at the same time, that we can then actually make something of our lives and put meaning into it from there.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Well, am I on? Hello?
Yep.
He's still, well, let me find. This one works, okay. I'd like to tell you how I'd react, but I don't exist. Sorry.
You exist.
I'm only kidding. Actually, on a serious note, I must say that Deepak got me into an interest in consciousness and meditation decades ago, and it changed my life for the better. And the thing that happens is the same thing, except even more so. When you look through anybody, you don't have to be an astronomer. When you look through a telescope and you look at the rings of Saturn or the Milky Way or whatever, you can't help, as a human being, but be overwhelmed by the vastness and feeling somewhat insignificant, but still telling yourself that you are significant. And I think with the whole business of consciousness and what are we created? What is the cosmos made of? Nothing. It even makes it more so. It expands your interest and the magic, and it just feels damn good when you really bring that into the soul. That's the way I feel about it.
Deepak, you believe that a person may attain perfect health conditions, that a person can be free from diseases, that we can even speed up or slow down or stop for a time the aging process. So how we as a human beings can actually stay healthy, how we can slow down our aging?
So I'll just stay with the conventional answer right now, okay? Won't go into the other stuff. We know now that only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully penetrant. So a mutation is an error, a genetic mistake, but only 5% of these genetic mistakes predict the disease. So if you look at cancer, less than 5% of gene mutations predict the disease. If somebody has a gene like, say, Angelina Jolie had for breast cancer, it's called a BRCA gene. That's a fully penetrant gene. But this is true of all disease, not just cancer. All chronic illness, less than 5% of genetic mistakes predict the disease. For that now, there is new technology, okay? So we call it CRISPR. You've heard of it. You can delete a gene, take it out, and then paste a healthy gene. So you can cut and paste a gene just like you cut and paste your email. That technology is already there. In about CRISPR, it's called, so in 5-10 years, it will be commonly available. So, but unfortunately, that applies only to less than 3 or 4% of all chronic illness. According to my geneticist friends, Rudy is my co-author, he's a geneticist, he's a neuroscientist at Harvard. They say less than 5%, probably 3%. The other chronic illnesses, are related to the activity of your genes. We have 25,000 genes in our body from our parents, but then we have 2 million to 20 million extra genes which are bacterial, which are called the microbiome. And these genes, their activities are influenced by the quality of our life. Okay, or let's say the quality of our life experiences. Your body is also an experience you're having. There's no such thing as a fixed body, right? You have the body of a fetus, a body of a baby, a body of a teenager. So you don't have a fixed body. It's an activity,
Evolving.
and it's an activity of this cosmos, whatever, possibilities. So those, what we experience as our body, as a changing dynamic body, is influenced, I would say, by few very fundamental things. The quality of your sleep, whether you're stressed or in flow, movement. I'm not talking about excessive exercise in the gym. Just keep moving. Get up, okay? And then mind-body coordination, yoga, breathing techniques, meditation, these are very important in actually renewing your body-mind, which is one word. We shouldn't even say mind-body connection. Body-mind, just like mass, energy, wave, particle, etc. Body-mind, space-time, it's all one thing. So these very amazing practices, self-reflection, contemplative self-inquiry, transcendence, mindful awareness, these. And then emotions. Our emotions override everything. So if the more love, compassion, joy, empathy, peace, equanimity you have, the more your body moves in the direction of homeostasis or self-regulation. And then finally, nutrition. If your food is not full of toxins, that destroys the genetic information of your microbiome. So we can't change the human genes that we have. We got them from our parents, but we can regulate them up and down. That's called epigenetics. But we can change the population of our bacterial genes entirely. So if you can change 99% of the genetic information in your body, you've changed your body, literally. It's not the same body, okay? And that can be done through many mind-body practices, but mainly through nutrition. And so today, the latest advance in technology is artificial intelligence, which can analyze your microbiome, which means the 20 million bacterial genes you have. There's no human lab can do it. But using artificial intelligence, it's possible to do your entire genome, your entire what is called metabiome, your microbiome, your epigenetic activity, and correlate it with what I just said, emotions, sleep, movement, exercise, meditation, nutrition. And then one thing that people are becoming very aware of now, because we are all living in urban societies. I'm wearing rubber soles, you're wearing rubber soles, you're wearing leather. Leather conducts electricity from the body to the earth. If he was walking on the earth, he would be connected to the earth. But most of us these days, hardly any time connecting with the earth. Maybe occasionally you touch a tree or something. But the more you have bodily contact with the earth through what is called grounding, and there are again technologies for this, but you don't, ideally speaking, walking on the beach or something, you renew your body.
Or we have to come to the country of your origin and walk Arunachala in Tiruvannamalai.
Yeah, well, that would be amazing. So, we can. And talking about aging, the enzyme telomerase, which controls the biological clock in our genetic, apparatus, telomerase is influenced by lifestyle. So, if you don't sleep well, if you didn't sleep well last night, you'll see the enzyme correlation.
Thank you. Roger, following on what Deepak said, we have been talking here today about technology versus humanity. We are talking about CRISPR-Cas9, which is a technology just 6-7 years old. But we will be able to modify the human genome and actually change it. Do you see that as a threat for humanity, or do you see that as a natural part of the evolution of the human beings?
I think every time we have gone through the most massive revolutions in thinking has been when a certain area of our understanding has got digitized. So for example, talking about Newton and Einstein and fundamentally the digitizing of physics, where it all turns into maths. That happened with physics. It changed our physical world. It happened with chemistry, with the periodic table, which basically created all our engineering structures and everything we have today. It happened with information, with the internet, which allowed us to immediately go everywhere. There's just one frontier left to digitize, which is our biology. And that's what Deepak's talking about, and that's what we're seeing more and more. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was only maybe 20 years ago, in the 1990s, there was such a thing called alternative medicine, right? Or alternative health. No one uses the word alternative anymore because it's no longer alternative. Right. There was a time people would talk about meditating and other people would say, what are you doing? And now everyone meditates, or at least a large number of people do this. And there's more and more scientific basis to consciousness, to health. And more importantly, the number one most fundamental digital tool or digital structure out there in the universe is our DNA, right? It's already a binary tool, which has got so much information in it, which we're just getting an understanding of right now as well. So when you take all that information, and with any information like that, can it be used for good? Can it be used for bad? It can go both ways, which is why I think one of the most interesting things right now is the interrelationship of consciousness with conscience. Like what is our conscience? What's our ethics behind what we do with all this information coming our way? And I think a huge part of what's happening right now is this whole move towards personalization, personalized health. Many people here know of wealth dynamics, which I've been working on for like the last 10, 15 years. We've now got health dynamics, which is connecting up something that Deepak is an expert at, which is Ayurveda, and really the whole science of life, and how we can get personalized to who we really are in all elements, and link it to the mind, the body, and the spirit as well. I think we're all moving in that direction, and that's an exciting time. But it's up to us whether or not that ends up being for good or for bad.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Jim, you showed during your presentation a lot of energy when you were singing the song, really amazing. My question is, how do you keep yourself motivated, going on? You have a lot of energy, a lot of plans. When we met for a lunch a couple of weeks back, I was really amazed by your inner spirit and the attitude to life. How do you keep yourself in this energetic status?
Phew, I thought you were going to ask me my age. Anyway.
I didn't.
Thanks. I would say the most important thing to me is to have a sense of purpose. And I have for many years had a sense of purpose. Now it changes with time. My sense of purpose right now, there's a few things. Number one is to provide service to my wife and my 3 daughters so that they can achieve their dreams, and I'm excited about spending time doing that. The second is to do whatever I can for Chateau Mazzelli to help us achieve our vision of creating a space for people who come there that walk away and feel much better about themselves. And the third is to take what I've learned and share it for whatever it's worth, in the hopes that some people won't make the same mistakes I made along the way. So I think that keeps me going. It keeps me excited. I'm excited every morning to get up and write and ride my daughter to school and all those kind of things. I think that's probably the most important things. But it is important to have balance. I exercise every morning. I meditate every morning. And if I miss one day, I feel ill. Okay. And so those are the things that are important to me.
Thank you. You practically answered my last question, which I had for all of you. And this is, we have an audience here. And if the audience should leave today's session, 5-hour session, with one thing they should remember from each of you, what is it you would send these people home to think about and what they should practice in their life? Roger.
When I shifted from being an architect to an entrepreneur when I was 18 years old, it was because of a story I heard of Buckminster Fuller, who I mentioned earlier, where he talked about something called the final exam. He said that all the world's challenges are all distribution challenges. Like when we say there's poverty, it's not because there are isn't enough money, it's just not distributed effectively. If we say hunger, it's not because there isn't enough food, it's just not distributed effectively. Technology, which is a large part of today, already solved those problems many years ago. But he said, well, why is it that the problems are then not solved if they could be solved? And he said it's because human consciousness has not yet caught up to harness that technology effectively. It's our own consciousness which is stopping us. And we're in this final exam because technology continues to accelerate. And if we do not accelerate our own consciousness, we will not pass this exam. Technology will eventually destroy us. If we do accelerate our consciousness, then we can actually harness that technology, we can actually impact the world for good. So if there's one thing out of this room right now, is not trying to go out there trying to figure out how to create good robots. It's figuring out how we ourselves become good humans. It's how do we lift our own consciousness up to that high level. Coming back down to everything Deepak talked about, what some of the speakers talked about today, what I shared at the beginning of today as well. You know, there's that saying that with wisdom, I know I'm nothing. With love, I know I'm everything. In between the two, my life moves. I think if everyone leaves with that philosophy, then you're every day going to be lifting your consciousness.
Thank you, Deepak.
Well, I'll reinforce what is already said. Technology is moving very fast. So we are at a crossroads. We face extinction if we're not careful. Climate change, extinction of species, poison in the food chain, war, terrorism, mechanized death, you name it, internet hacking. You can sit somewhere in East Europe and use Facebook to destroy democracy, elect a crazy guy as a president. So technology can lead to our extinction, and if we're not careful, it will. On the other hand, technology used with the expansion of our consciousness could create a new experience of what we call the universe. So it's a very critical moment in our evolution as human beings. If our consciousness does not keep abreast of its own evolution, lags behind technology, then we're screwed.
Right. Gentlemen, I would like to thank to all of you for sharing with us how to be true ourselves in the exponentially changing times. Thank you. Thank you. If you can stay with me for a moment,